eventually the happy and good things in your life overtake the size of the grief.
In other cultures, it is about that community. Yeah.
It's that idea, I completely agree with that we're meant to be fixed after a certain point of time, and we're meant to go back to the person we were before.
Grief, it does become such a big part of your life, and it is connected to everything. I think you saying that just captured it so well.
And you just have to find any way you can to be okay and to carry on living your life.
Hello and welcome back to the Social Matters podcast. We're three social workers talking about social matters. Hi, I'm Eugene.
Hi, I'm Fran.
Hi, I'm Nadia.
And we are here for a very special episode. Why did I look over there? For a very special episode, we're joined by Imogen from Eden's Trust. Welcome to the podcast, Imogen. Clap, clap, clap. And we're here today to talk a bit about grief and loss, and that's why Imogen's here to share her story and her experiences. But Naz, I want to kind of just hand over to you to just say a little bit about Eden's Trust and how we kind of arrived and your connection.
Yeah, so Eden's Trust, this is Eden. She was my husband's little sister, and she would have been my sister-in-law. And she died on holiday when a fire display went wrong while they were on holiday in Turkey. And my incredible mother-in-law, Ellie, set up Eden's Trust. Initially with the kind of, it's a charity, initially with the kind of intention for it to kind of campaign for safer holidays. But while that was happening, Ellie was finding that like people kind of reaching out to kind of want to talk about grief and loss, and maybe were there any kind of support groups or anything that could that Eden's Trust could offer. And so the tack kind of changed a bit, and now Eden's Trust runs support groups for people who have lost people close to them, which Imogen has been part of those support groups, and we kind of heard, we went to an Eden's Trust event, and we kind of heard Imogen speaking at that event so beautifully, and we thought, it would be so lovely to have a conversation with you on the podcast. So that is a little bit of how we've arrived here today. So Imogen, thank you so much for joining us today. Do you just want to say a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do?
Yep, I'm Imogen, I'm 23 and I'm doing a master's at the moment, and I want to be a barrister, so this is one of the last stages of getting there.
Come on.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
wow. Well done.
Thank you.
How many years in to this?
So this is the fourth year, and then I've got one more year, the bar course, and then I can start the training to be a barrister, the practical training.
Yeah,
that's another year.
Because one of my friends is a solicitor, but I don't know like the different sort of training. But do you have to do like a training contract first with a law firm or whatever before you actually get to
similar,
okay.
But the barrister route is only 1 year, and
okay.
the training contract is 2, but yeah, it's very similar.
Okay, so credit to you, because that's
Thank you.
tough. And also another thing, because like the amount of tuition fees that you paid, that you pay now. I remember in our days it was $3,000 a year. Was it $3,000 a year?
Yeah, well, yeah. Mine went up $1,000 each year, but yeah.
So a lot of years.
So, so it's $9,000 now.
A year?
Yeah, for your degree. But luckily, I've got a scholarship for this year and next year, so that's amazing, because it's really, really difficult otherwise.
Yeah,
wow.
It's really bad because they deter people from doing certain jobs as well, because like a lot of courses, if not all of the courses, are like $9,000, and then like you leave uni in significant debt and with no kind of promise of a job really. So kudos to you for doing it, and good luck on that journey. Thank you, Imogen. Could you tell us a little bit about your relationship with grief and loss, and what brought you to Eden's Trust?
So I lost my brother 5.5 years ago in a car accident. So I was 18, he was 21, and it was one of his friends that was driving. So it was probably about 2 years after he died that I found Eden's Trust, and it was around the time that we were going to court because the driver hadn't admitted that he was driving. So we went to court. There was a trial, 3-week trial, which was a really, really difficult time for, me and the family, just having to go through all the details of what happened, and the videos from the police's body cameras and things like that, and hearing everything. And the police officers that were there at the scene that found them, they came up and spoke. So that was, it was really, really difficult. But yeah, one of my mum's friends goes to the parents group at Eden Trust, and she recommended that I should go as well, because it's just, there's nothing else really like it. You're there surrounded by people that completely understand your situation, and you're all just there for each other, holding space, and yeah, it's amazing.
Did you feel that you needed something at the time, or were you just kind of going off someone's recommendation in relation to dealing with your brother's loss?
So I had been looking for support groups before that, and I did go to therapy, like one-to-one therapy, and that was really helpful, and I found a really great therapist, but it's not the same as being with people that actually get it. And this is every month, so it's a consistent thing in your life. You know, you've got that space to be there. So yeah, I went from the recommendation, but I was looking for one before, but I just hadn't found one, really.
Yeah, that's what was making me think, because it's so great to get a recommendation from somewhere. I'm just thinking about, as somebody who, I've lost people, but I haven't really lost people who I was really close to in my lifetime. Think about the relationship with my grandparents, but I wouldn't know where to look. It's not kind of in your face, whereas everybody experiences loss or grief to a certain degree. So that's why it's great to hear how you found it, because I'm curious about people listening about where would they look, or how would they know where to look.
Yeah, I think, well, I started off Googling, and there are a lot of groups in London, but where I live in Essex, it's a bit different. So yeah, I think that's something that we definitely need to work on, because there are these groups out there, and people do need them.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, amazing. Just wondered, do any other members of your family access Eden's Trust? Do they go to any of the groups?
No, they don't. So my mum and dad, they haven't been to any therapy or any groups like this, but that's their way of dealing with it. They, you know, my mum says that she wouldn't like to sit in a group and speak about these things with a group of people. So everyone's different in that way. Yeah,
that's exactly it. Everyone has different ways of managing and talking or not talking or processing it. But okay, thank you.
And I guess you saying about the kind of the benefit of the group, that you've had the one-to-one, but the group, how that kind of complements, because I think sometimes, particularly in Western society, we go for the one-to-one, and there's absolute benefits of that, but in other cultures it is about that community, and having that community. And it sounds like that's something that Eden's Trust offers you, of just being in that space with others that get it. So sounds so powerful. So could you share a bit about your experience of Eden's Trust and the work that they do in supporting those that are grieving?
Yep, so they run support groups for siblings that have lost a sibling and parents that have lost a sibling. But also they do one specifically for dads who have lost a child, because they understand that for men it's much harder to speak about their feelings. And there's a stigma around grief anyway, but for men there's an extra layer of, you know, society's expectations. So, and they also do one-to-one sessions whenever you need them, really, with the same person that runs the group. And they also do work in schools for younger children that have lost someone close to them. And so I go to the group every month, and then I have had one-to-one sessions as well. And you just feel so understood, and you feel just safe to say exactly how you feel, because the emotions and the things you're feeling, they're so extreme and so painful. It's not easy to talk about them anyway. But when you're with people that you know have felt the same things as you, it just feels so much better, and you're not worried about what are they going to think? Are they going to think I'm crazy? You know, all these types of things, which is obviously, speaking about it is one of the ways you can get through. But yeah, this just creates a really good environment to do that.
Yeah.
Sounds like really holistic in the different types of support, and I like that kind of thinking about how people might respond to grief differently. So having the one-to-one, having the group, having the space for fathers as well. Is it kind of ongoing indefinitely? So you could, carry on attending? How does it work in that sense?
Yeah, so it is ongoing indefinitely, which is something that you don't get with the normal therapy. So this, you know, becomes part of your life, and obviously you're free to go or not go each month, depending on how you feel. But yeah, I just find it really useful to go every month and to know that I have that time every month to speak about my brother and speak about how I'm feeling. Because, well, one of the ways that I deal with my grief is to just kind of keep moving forward and keep doing as many amazing, happy things as I can. But in doing that, sometimes you forget to actually sit and think about how you're feeling and let yourself feel. Because it is so, the feelings are so intense, it's very easy to try and just push them away and, you know, I'll think about them later. But this makes sure that you go and, yeah, and we do speak about, obviously, our grief and loss, but we speak about everything else in our life as well, because it is all, it's a huge part of your life and everything is related to it. So, yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I really like that. And also, and hopefully this is a difficult question to answer, but what difference do you see in yourself from when you first started with Eden's Trust to kind of now, in the sense of what you kind of get from the group and how the group has benefited you in your kind of journey since your brother passed?
I think I was kind of just muddling along the best I could those first couple of years, just trying whatever I can to get through each day. But through the group and through Shell, who ran the group, and the rest of the people that come every month, I feel excited for my future. And I definitely did not feel that before. It was almost a dread for another day of my brother not being here, which obviously I still feel, and it comes in waves and phases. But I think now I do feel excited. I know that I can live a full and happy life, even though it's not going to be as happy as I could have been with my brother here. I know that I can be happy, and yeah, it's really just made me look forward to the rest of my life.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, it's very emotional, isn't it? Oh my days, I think I might need some tissue.
That's what I brought to the table. I think.
Yeah,
That's
amazing. You
completely
speak
right.
so beautifully about it. Thank you, Isabel.
Thank you.
You were saying, you said something there, like before, of like, you know, grief, like it's such a big part of your life and everything's connected to it. I thought that was so powerful, because I do think that there is maybe an idea that, you know, if you lose somebody, or grief should sit over there. It's something that you do over there, maybe not in public, or you don't speak about it too much, or you're lost too much, and then you just do it over there, sort of thing. And I think actually, you know, grief, it does become such a big part of your life, and it is connected to everything. I think you saying that just captured it so well. But I suppose my next question is, like, what would you say are some of the like misconceptions that there are about grief? You spoke a little bit about, you know, men's grief as well earlier on, but yeah, what would you say are some of the kind of like misconceptions about grief?
You're so right what you said about it being over there, and people kind of expect you to do that.
Yeah.
So that just doesn't work for me. I wouldn't be able to live my life doing it that way.
Yeah.
So for me, I now feel like I have my life and my brother's life to live. So yeah, so I want to pack it full with as many amazing things that I can do for both of us, and to take him with me on all these experiences and adventures, jobs, everything. Yeah, so that's how I live my life, and I do speak about him a lot. All my friends know so much about him, and when they, you know, talk about him as well, I think, wow, it sounds like you know him, even though some of them have never met him. And that always makes me feel so good, because I know I've been speaking about him and making sure that he's still around in that way. But some of the misconceptions, I would say, people expect you to move on after a certain amount of time.
Yes.
And that's just not how it works. This is a forever thing. It's, you know, he should be here, and that doesn't change just because 2 years have passed and whatever. So they do expect you to move on and kind of get on with your life and almost forget that it's happened. But yeah, it's not like that, and you have to make a new life around this. It's like everything completely changes, and you have to find a new normal, because nothing is the same without someone. He's my brother. He should be with me through all of life, and now he's not. So people definitely expect you to move on, and they say things like, "Oh, time is a healer," and all these things. For some things, but this is not one of those things, and it's really not helpful to say that to someone, because then you're putting an expectation on them when they're probably already struggling with how they're feeling and how they should deal with it. And it normally comes from a place they don't understand. They haven't been through it themselves, which is great. I wish you haven't been through grief and experienced this loss. But I think to just take a step back and think about what you're saying, because words do really have an impact. And it can be even your closest friends and family that just don't get it, which you wouldn't expect as well.
There's something you were saying about like Eden's Trust offering you that space to sit in the grief, and I think some of those kind of classic things that people say, it's almost like people feel uncomfortable to sit in it with you, don't they? So they're trying to make you feel, the intention is like, say those things, but actually, like, what can be helpful, I imagine, is a friend or someone who can sit with you in it.
Exactly.
So really stood out. But when you said those things, I was like, gosh, they're common phrases, aren't they, about time and things? But really powerful. Thank you.
And I remember when we heard you speak at the Eden's Trust event, that was one of the things that really stood out for me, this idea of it never goes, and you just learn to build your life around it, like what you're saying now. And I think it's so, just listening to you kind of talk about that, and talk about how Eden's Trust is an ongoing kind of thing for you to engage with. It replicates what loss and grief is like. It's like there's not an end point. And sometimes when you go to therapy, people may say, okay, we've got 6 sessions together, or it comes to an end because of finances or whatever. And it's that idea, I completely agree with that we're meant to be fixed after a certain point of time, and we're meant to go back to the person we were before we lost our loved one, whereas actually the person we are is a person that's never been seen before, is a new person that incorporates the loss of the loved ones and who we are as people going forward. So I think that's such an important message to hold on to, because I think people feel uncomfortable talking about loss and grief. And when we say, oh, time's a healer, I think that's more for the individual. Like, I don't want to see this person cry, I don't want to see them upset, so let me just do something quickly to make them feel better, which is not, it shouldn't be the case. So I think that's such a great message to put forward.
And what you're saying about you don't want to see people cry, of course you don't. And I think a lot of the time people don't know what to say. They don't want to upset you, and they don't want to make you cry. But I would rather speak about my brother with you than pretend that it's never happened. And if I cry, then I cry. But it's not your fault that I'm crying. I would be thinking about my brother anyway, whether you mention him or not. So it's always worth it to have that conversation and just be okay with the tears, basically.
And just thinking about tears, this is 2 episodes in a row I've talked about my little niece. She's 5 months old. Hi. She watches in the future. But the idea is, I think, the lessons that we can take from kids and babies, like a child cries to communicate, like when they are hungry, when they want attention, when they are upset. And I think the interpretation of adult tears is just in one way when we're thinking about loss, but it's a way of communication. So we have to accept that, we have to adopt that. So I definitely believe in the idea of, if someone cries, let them cry. That's okay. They need it, and we have to feel, or people on the receiving end of it have to feel comfortable with that, I'd say. From your experience with Eden's Trust, what difference have you seen in the way people respond to grief and loss?
So even though we've all lost the same kind of relation, everyone deals with it completely differently, and they feel differently about it as well. So for me, like I said, I keep moving forward, keep doing things and taking my brother on these experiences with me. For some people, and this all changes at different stages in your life and with the grief, but for some people they feel like at a standstill. They can't move forward. They don't want to move forward because they can't imagine this life without them. And I've definitely felt like that as well, especially at the start. But it always comes around in waves. Some people feel guilty for allowing themselves to be happy after something like this, or allowing themselves to live their life because their person they've lost can't live theirs. So it's really a range of emotions. Some people like speaking about it, some people don't. Like, some people would come to the group, some people just like the one-to-one sessions. Especially between family members can vary so much, and that's really difficult because you've all lost the same person, but it's a different relationship and it's a different kind of life that you now have to build around that. So but that's really hard, and you would think that, you know, your family would be united after such a horrible thing, but it doesn't always work like that.
Yeah.
It's ideal, obviously, if you all can stick together and be there for each other, but it often goes the other way. A lot of parents end up divorcing once they've lost a child because it's just too much to bear, and the constant reminders of that child with each other, it's really common. So yeah, it's really difficult to feel how you feel and then have someone so close to you feel a completely different way. And you have to really try and just be accepting of each other, especially around the anniversaries and birthdays, because, well, our family, we are lucky, we all like to do the same thing. On my brother's birthday, we have a party with all his friends and family, and we really just try and celebrate his life. And we have a cake and we do like candles and everything. Some families don't like to do anything, they just like to be at home, or maybe they want to do something more intimate with just a close family. Same with anniversaries. Some people don't like celebrating it because they think it's not something to celebrate because it's, you know, the anniversary of their death. We like to go and have a meal at my brother's favourite restaurant and just try and make something good out of a really shit day. And you just see how you feel and do what you can on those days. But yeah, so I think the main thing is just trying to accept how other people are feeling, and that's okay. There's no right way to feel. Especially with us as well, where we had to go through the court case and the trial and everything. I personally wanted to know every single detail that was, you know, everything, and be involved and go to every day of the trial. My parents didn't really want to know everything. They wanted to know roughly what was going on, but they did come to court every day with me to be there for me. But that wasn't particularly what they wanted to do. There's other families at Eden's Trust that don't want to know anything about the court case and what's happened, and, you know, whereas me, I wanted to see all the pictures, I wanted to see, hear from all the people and get all the details, because it felt like this was the last, it's my brother's last moments, and I just want to know what happened. But for some people that's too hard, and they don't want to know, they just want to remember their person as they were before they died. So yeah, it really, really varies.
So powerful as you were speaking, just that difference in response, but also then within a family unit, you know, to have that, just a really important reflection. You touched on it a little bit, I suppose, in that acceptance, but what advice would you give to people who are perhaps trying to find the right way to grieve and struggling with that?
There is no right way. Same with all emotions, there's no right way to feel it. You just have to do what works for you and what feels best for you, and make the best of your life as you can. And obviously it's easier said than done, but try not to listen to what other people expect of you and these comments they say and everything. You just have to remember that they don't understand how you're feeling, and it's not their fault, but they don't. So you have to try and not worry about what anyone will think of you, and do whatever makes you feel better in the moment and for your life. And also just to know that things change over the years, and it's an up and down thing. It's not you start low and it doesn't work like that. You might be going up and you think, oh right, I'm doing much better this month, and then the next month you're not, and you feel like you're back to day one when it first happened. And that's okay. That's, this is such a horrible thing to go through. It's, your heart breaks losing this person that you love so much, and you just have to find any way you can to be okay and to carry on living your life.
I remember when we came to the Eden's Trust event and we heard you speak, you said something like, you like make like the grief is so big, but you make your life bigger to live life to the full. And I just thought that was such a beautiful capturing of, it's not going to take over. I'm determined to make my life big around the grief. That was really beautiful imagery for me.
Thank you.
So,
And that's like probably the best way I would describe it to people that haven't experienced it. Your grief is like this size, and it will never get smaller. It's, you know, even as time goes on, it will never get smaller. But you learn to make your life bigger than that, and eventually the happy and good things in your life overtake the size of the grief. So even though it's still there and it still feels exactly the same as it does the first day, the rest of your life is so much bigger. And I feel like now I'm doing everything in my life this is the happiest I've ever been in my life, but my brother's not here. So it's not going to be how it was, but I've just done everything I can to try and be happy. That's all you can do.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Imogen. Really thank you for coming onto the podcast. I think it was the point where we heard you speak at the event when we realised, okay, we need to do an episode about grief and loss, because we like to pride ourselves on starting conversations that maybe people may find difficult to have. So to have you on to do that and share your story and share your experiences is so powerful. I'm definitely sure people will enjoy it, so thank you very much. And people, you can really go and find out more about Eden's Trust at www.edenstrust.org.uk. Eden's Trust is a charity, so like a lot of charities, especially small charities, they need kind of attention, they need fundraising, they need donations. So if you are up for running a marathon or half marathon or just doing a sponsored silence like I need to do. Then, and you have people to sponsor you, then please do consider donating and supporting Eden's Trust through your fundraising. And if you're not up for it or not in a position, then do forward it to friends and families and continue this conversation. I think it's important to definitely have these conversations and share widely. And you can find us at Matters Podcast on Instagram, and we'll see you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.